Welcome to Monetize You, where baby boomers learn how to get paid to live their lifelong dreams. Grab a pen and paper so you too can make extra money by using what you already know. Now, here's our host.
Sometimes when we're in between jobs, we actually lose our identity, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But I've been a consultant for blah, blah, blah over 20 years, and have managed to build up a six-figure practice. But even though the practice was very successful, at some point I started to grow bored, very, very bored with what I had been doing for a long time. So I had to reassess my skills, my talents, my passions, and what the market would pay for. And since I am a gerontologist, I've followed baby boomers' issues for over 20 years, and I know what's happening right now with baby boomers, people 50 or so plus. I really say about 45 because it starts about that age. And so I had to reinvent myself because I was losing my drive and my passion. And so what I do now is focus on the demographic. One is helping people figure out how to make money with what they already know. I don't say start a business because everybody doesn't want to start a business. Some people just want a few extra $100, extra $1,000 coming in a month to meet their needs. So that's what I do. So I'm not going to talk to you about actually stealing somebody's identity. Do I have to point it there?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think we do.
Okay. All right. So this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give you the context for this conversation. So what's actually happening with people who are, 40 plus and in between jobs? You probably know some of that, but I'm going to just emphasize it anyway, again, because it's important for you to keep this in mind when you think about, will you face your fear? Some of you may have fear to start doing something on your own. Then I'm going to talk about the mindset of the employable. And that's the person that is in between jobs, but they know they have what it takes in order to either get another job or do something different. We'll talk about the skills of the employable and money-making opportunities. So what I plan to do is watch the clock very carefully because what I want to do is sort of set the stage with some context work. And then I'm going to ask for one brave volunteer who will go through a process, and you all are going to participate because I know if you participate in the process, you'll be able to do this easier for yourself once you return home. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So how many people have a smartphone? Take your smartphone out, and if you want this baby boomer big assessment, it's baby boomer income generator assessment, you would text to 44222. That's the number you're texting to, and you put in your message, first step. You can't have a signature line in your message. You would only have first step. Once you put first step in, you will get an email back that will ask for your email address, or text back, asking for your email address, and you put that in, and you will automatically get the big assessment. And we'll keep you informed of an online class that will be starting soon in case you're interested. I'll put this up at the end. So if you don't get it right now, don't worry about it. I'll put it back up at the end.
What's the text name again? What do we put in the message?
In the message,
Yeah.
first step. You're texting to 44222.
There's not a lot of bars on my phone right now.
Okay.
It's not delivered because of that.
Okay.
Text without.
All right. So this is all the wave of the future. This is all the wave of the future. So as people 40 plus, we have to learn how to get with where society is going. And another reason why I do this is because you can do this yourself and have people get your resume if they send a text. And I'll talk about that. All right, so here's the landscape. You probably know all of this. About 38% or so of people in the job force are people 50 plus. But this is the part that I wanted to highlight for you, and I see that there are actually probably a little more women in here than men. a study that was done of long-term unemployed persons, those are people who have been unemployed for at least 6 months or more. Older women make up a large percentage of the long-term unemployed. So if you look at the long-term unemployed, 50% of people who are 50 to 64 fall into that category, and 49% who are over age 65. So there is age discrimination in employment, and I'm sure you guys all know that. The length of time that older workers are being out of work has actually dropped since this study was done. It was like about right around a year. Of course, that's not everybody. This is a statistic. So it's dropped a little bit, but it typically is at least 3 months longer than people who are younger. But don't feel bad. So this is what I call the mindset of the unemployed person. And even here, the first time I came here, I was talking with a woman and she said, it's almost like a death. You know, you go through all the stages of grief. So you'll have like the isolation, the anger, the depression sometimes, embarrassment, sometimes you're scared. And I've heard people say that they've gone to dinner parties and people say, usually the first thing, what do you do? And they're not sure how to answer that. And so when you're thinking about your identity, what you used to be when you were employed and who you are now, that's where the identity theft comes in. Because you're not a different person. Because on May 15th, they told you that your job was over. Did you become a different person? You didn't. You're the same person. You have the same capabilities, the same skill set. Your mindset should be the same. But what typically happens is people start to feel like, I don't know who I am. Does anybody have that feeling now? You don't have to really admit it out loud. But some people are really feeling like, who am I? Because I can't say I'm the manager at XYZ company. So let me tell you about mindset. This is the story of the grasshopper. Some of you may know this story. It's a familiar one, where there's this kingdom that wants to invade another kingdom. And they send spies into the land. The spies go in, and the spies see that this is a good land, fertile land, just as they were told. But they think in their minds that there are giants in the land. So when they come back, they say, we can't take the land. There are giants there. And since we look like grasshoppers in our own sight, we became grasshoppers. Let me tell you about one of my grasshopper experiences. This was a number of years ago. I was negotiating with someone who wanted to hire me. And they said, I can't, I don't know if we can afford you. She said, you're probably going to cost more, but all we have is $100 an hour. My rate was $75 an hour. But because I was a grasshopper, I couldn't even realize that was an opportunity to get $100 an hour. So I said, oh no, I only charge $75 an hour. Believe it or not, she said it a second time. I hope we can afford you. We only can pay $100 an hour. And the grasshopper responded, no, I only charge $75 an hour. Wasn't that crazy?
Really?
That was really crazy. But that's a true story.
But stuck in an identity.
My identity.
So what happened?
I got $75 an hour.
Right.
And then a couple years later, I had to then go back and say, you know, all of my expenses have increased. I need to get an increase. I never got to $100 an hour. And that's why, you know, sometimes when I talk with people who are maturing, I talk about mindset a lot. And some people feel like that's hocus pocus. Mindset is very serious. It is very serious. Whatever you feel deep down inside of you about yourself is what you project. Even if you're going in a job interview. If you go in a job interview and you feel like either I can't really do this and maybe they don't want me, they're probably looking for someone younger, or you feel like I don't really want to work for this young person because I know way more than them. They pick that up. And I've heard somewhere, and I'm not even sure if this is true, so excuse me if I'm sharing a myth, but I heard that the average age of a hiring manager is 38. So the mindset is just so critical for us. And here's a quote that I really like by a guy who runs a mature worker employment program. He says, "What often stands in the way for people in the job search isn't their qualifications, it's the way they feel about themselves and their job loss." You guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to feel that we are the same person when we had the job, even when we don't have the job. We got the same goods. We're the same value. You may be even more valuable because maybe losing a job caused you to bone up on some additional skills. That's a real possibility. So let's talk about that employable person that I mentioned. And that's you. You're the same person. But it's shifting your mindset from being an unemployed person to being an employable person. So this is what this person looks like. This is you today, and this is the headlines. You get your identity back. You remember that you are competent and skilled. You remember that you're valuable and committed. You remember that you're a great communicator and experienced and professional. You remember all of those things about yourself. And so when you enter into an opportunity for employment, you bring that with you. You bring the best of you with you. And some people say this is a little hokey pokey, but this works too. Whatever you hear, you begin to believe. Psychologists have proved that with babies. If you tell a little kid that they're stupid, they're clumsy, they become that. We're no different. So you don't have anybody around you, no mom still around to tell you that you're fabulous, you're wonderful, you're capable, you're able, you're employable. Say it to yourself. You know, before you go to the job interview, before, as you're looking for the possibility, say, they really need me. Before I got here with you guys, I said, I can really provide value to people. Say it to yourself if you have nobody else to say it to you. There are certain words that I highlighted in red because I just spoke with, I interviewed someone who works for economic development in Anne Arundel County. And she actually used to work with senior employment, but now she works with young people employment. So she sees the difference in how people approach the whole thing. Those words that are highlighted in red are the things that she said employers want to hear from mature workers. They want to hear that they're great communicators because apparently some of the younger people who are applying are not really good communicators. Communication is good not only for you talking with, potential partners within the organization, your manager, etc., but if you can speak well, then you can help customers, and everybody wants a satisfied customer. They talked about the fact that you're networked. If you go into a potential job opportunity or making money, and you tell people how you connect the dots because you have like the golden Rolodex, you're more attractive to people. They talk about being excited to learn. And there's a myth that once you get over 45 that you're not interested in learning or that you learn very slowly. But if you come in and say, hey, I'm excited about learning. In fact, I'm working on learning XYZ right now. Let them know that you're excited about it. And then finally, that you're results oriented. This is a metrics-driven society. They want to know the numbers. So whatever you've done before, whether you're going to look for a job or do something on your own, you want to be able to quantify it to potential customers or to a potential employer. Make sense?